Hello, my name is Dmitry Naskovets, I'm Sharova Law Firm. Today we're going to discuss extradition cases, and the answers to the questions are going to be given by Frank Davis, our senior paralegal.
Good afternoon.
And here is the first question. Mr. Davis, why extradition of foreigners to the United States is legal?
Well, Dima, extradition is a process, and it is legal because the United States has agreements with other countries known as extradition treaties. We don't have those agreements with all countries, but with most of the countries in the world we do. And within those treaties are set forth rules on how citizens of other countries are to be returned or sent to the United States for criminal prosecution. Now, each country has a different treaty with the United States, and the rules for each extradition from those countries is different than from others. So, for example, some countries allow certain processes regarding pre-extradition cases, and some do not. Also, within the extradition process, an individual has the ability to either accept extradition or fight it. But the reason it's legal is because all the nations of the world have certain laws that allow them to cooperate with each other concerning criminal prosecution of cases.
Got it. Can you agree or disagree with extradition?
Of course you can. In at least half of the cases that we deal with, or that are extraditable cases, the person who's being sought for extradition actually consents to extradition. Usually that takes place when that individual believes that it's in his or her best interest to do so. Of course, in half the cases, an individual decides that they do not want to consent to extradition. Then the process under the extradition treaty, along with the laws of the nation, the host nation where that person is being held, prior to being sent back to the United States, those laws come into play. And in that case, a person is entitled to certain hearings determined as to whether or not there's an extraditable offense from that country back to the United States.
Got it, understood. Why sentences are so big in the extradition cases?
Well, sentences are a process of the crime or the charge itself. So if a particular sentence is going to be large, it is because of the type of crime it usually is. Now, what we see in cases concerning extradition to the United States of foreign nationals are usually crimes that involve some type of either international money laundering or some type of intellectual property being stolen by the very nature of those crimes themselves. And the number of times a person commits that kind of a crime, that usually dictates the severity of the possible sentence. So by the time a person is arrested in a foreign country and is going to be sent to the United States, they may have committed a particular crime on a number of different occasions. And of course, the more occasions you commit a crime, it is more likely of an increase in sentence. And that's why you see it in extradition cases.
Got it. Thank you for that. What are the basic grounds for the extradition?
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, the grounds for extradition are usually the basis of a treaty. And then the host country has to make sure that the crime that the United States is asking a person to be extradited to the United States for is a crime that is also an act, is a criminal act in that country. So in Western society, countries in Europe, usually we want to make sure that if they extradite an individual to the United States, that if the person committed acts in their own country, it would be a crime also. And that's usually the basis for extradition.
Got it. Can a person be extradited to the United States if he or she never been in the United States?
Of course. Extradition is a process that details a person being returned here who is not a United States citizen. So in essence, any person in the world, any foreign, we call foreign national, can be extradited to the United States whether or not they've ever set foot in the United States or one of its territories or possessions. It's just a matter of whether or not a crime they committed somehow touched the United States, whether or not they committed some act that violated the United States law within the United States itself.
Got it, thank you. Why some countries, for example Russia, do not extradite its citizens to the United States?
Because they most likely don't have a treaty of extradition in the United States. An extradition treaty is a political act. there has to be cooperation between the government of Russia or the government of Ukraine or the government of North Korea and the United States, such that they believe it's in their best interest to exchange potential criminals between them. So what we find is that when we have countries who we have difficulties with politically,
so countries need to have good relationships.
If they don't have good relationships, or we don't have the type of political system that we trust, there's usually not an extradition treaty in place. And without an extradition treaty, that country has no obligation under international law to send somebody to the United States.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and message us if you have any questions.